Right, so I want to tell a story about, from the first books of the Bible, let's just turn that around a bit. And the reason I've got the sand is because it takes place in the deserts. Okay, you remember how the people of God were slaves in Egypt, and God rescued them, and he took them out of Egypt and he took them through the desert. One of the first things that happened was that God gave Moses the 10 best ways to live, the 10 commandments, so that they could live and be connected to God all the time. And
the desert isn't usually flat.
No, the desert isn't always that flat, you're quite right. After they had these 10 best ways to live, those rules were so special, they wanted to keep them with them always. And so the people of God wanted to keep those things very safe. And God told them that they should make a special box to put them in.
Cutest thing ever.
Yeah, and it should have handles on it so that they could carry it with them wherever they went through the desert. And it should have some golden angels on top. And that's where God would be. God would rest between the two angels over that box. Okay, and the box was to be made of a special acacia wood and covered in gold on the inside and covered in gold on the outside. Okay, and it was to be really, really special. Now, something so precious. Can you guys see? Ellery, can you see from there? Do you want to come up a little bit closer? Something so special is really important. And if you're a person and you want to approach God, it seems so special that perhaps you should do something to get yourself ready to approach the place where God is. So God told them that they should make a little special burner for incense. They should put that special burner for incense. It should be made of wood and covered in gold and have some poles so that they could carry it. And they should put that right in front of the ark, the special box, where God would be. And that way, as people came to be close to God, they could smell the incense of the sweet smoke, and they'd be reminded that they were in the presence of God. But that wasn't enough. So God said they should make a table, a special table, and cover it in gold. And they should put 12 loaves of bread on the table. And then they should make a special golden lamp stand with 7 branches on it for oil lamps. And that way, the people, as they approached God, they could come through the table with the 12 loaves of bread, one for every tribe of the nation of Israel. And they'd come past the light, and then they would smell the smoke, the sweet smoke, and know that they were in the presence of God. But still, that wasn't enough. So, God then said that they should make a tent. And they should build the tent with some wooden walls. And, let me get that just right. They should build this special tent with some wooden walls, and they should make a special way of surrounding this special area so that the presence of God would be in there and the tent would surround it. And keep this place holy. So the whole place would be holy, so that you wouldn't just approach accidentally. You would know when you were approaching God. And they were to put another curtain down in there to separate the most holy place from the holy place. And so now when you came through, you would know you were coming into a holy place. You would come between the table with the bread where God provided for all the people, and the light that God gave to guide the people, and smell the incense that reminded you were in the presence of God. And they were told to cover this tent with special material. He had to make fine linen cloth and dye it blue and use blue and red and purple embroidery and put angels all over this cloth and cover the whole tent. And then they were to use another layer of cloth, and that was going to be of fine goat's wool. And then they were going to take another one, and this was going to be ram skin, the leather dyed red, and that was going to go over the top of all of that. And then the last one, they were going to take the skins of some special sea creatures, and they were going to wrap the whole thing all the way round in that, and that would keep it really special. It will also keep it watertight and keep things off from there. And all the time the smoke would come up, and if somebody wanted to enter, they would know they were entering into the very special holy place, and then go past the table and the light. But now, instead of the people going in, they had a priest who would go in, and the priest would do that for them. And they set up out the front a special altar, and it was a bronze altar, nice and square, so that the priest could make a sacrifice for the people's sin, and he would burn it there. And then the priest would come to this little bowl, a big bowl, filled with water, and they would wash themselves and purify their hands and their feet before they entered, and they came through this place of prayer, past the table with the bread of provision and the lampstand, which was the light of God, and then the incense that was to remind them that they were in the presence of God before they came to the Ark of the Covenant. And then they were to make another fence all the way around the outside like this, and that was to be of special linen cloth, and that was to have special poles on special stands, and all the way round that would keep the whole thing separated from the animals and from all the other tents and from where all the people lived. And this would be a special separated space that would be holy, just for God. And when you came into this place, you knew you were coming into the presence of God. And when all of this was built, when the people had finished all of this stuff, and they'd made it all and they'd set it out just as God had told them, Aaron blessed it, Moses blessed it, and Aaron was the priest, and he blessed it too, and he blessed all the people with a special prayer saying, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Now, I wonder what part of this story of the people of God you like best. I wonder what part of this story is about you. I wonder what part of this story we could leave out and still have all the story we needed. And I wonder, what is the most important part of this story? What do you think? You know, we approach the presence of God, don't we, when we come into this place? It's a bit like the people had the presence of God with them in that place, that holy, holy place. What do you think is the most important part of this story? Anyone? Any adults? What's the most important part? That God's there for us.
Yes.
In the midst. This is where everybody lived, in their tents, all the way around here. And there was 4 tribes on this side, and 4 tribes on this side, and 4 tribes on this side, and 4 tribes were on this side. And around the outside were the priests. That's where their tents were. And they had their tents there so that they could come in and care for all of this stuff, keep the lamp burning, keep the altar going, and keep the water clean, and to make sure that the incense was always burning, to make sure that this was kept holy. That is, holy means separated. You can see how it's separated now from all of the other stuff and all the other people and all their animals and things that they were taking with them as they went through the desert. What does everyone else think?
I think we don't need to be separated from God at all because He's always with us.
What part of this story talks about us?
You've got 4 or 5 different tribes that are all have common. That's the common denominator for all 4 tribes.
Yeah, and it was right in the centre of their camp. And when you remember the pillar of smoke and cloud, when God would move and tell them that it was time to move on from this place and go a bit further through the desert, the pillar would move ahead of them and go before them, and it was light and it was smoke. So smoke during the day so they could see it, but if he travelled at night, it was a big pillar of light. And all of this could be picked up and rolled up and carried along with them. And the presence of God went with them wherever they went, and God went in front of them and showed them where to go through light and through the cloud. I like the way that Jesus replaces a lot of all of this. Jesus becomes our sacrifice and looks after our sins. Jesus becomes the one who deals with our sins and washes us clean and purifies us and renews us. Jesus is the light of the world that goes before us and enlightens us. And the bread on the table, we remember how Jesus feeds us with his body and with his blood. Jesus becomes our priest. But then in another way, we're all told that we're priests, aren't we? And that our body then, because we're the priest and we have the Spirit in us, that our body becomes the temple to the Lord, and that we become all of this. That we become the presence of God for people who don't know God. When you have something so special like God with you, I think it's right that you should approach with some sort of reverence, something deliberate. It'd be sad if you accidentally stumbled across here chasing a ball or chasing a goat and, accidentally bumped into the presence of God who's holy. And I think it's right that you would come through the gates and through the doors. You remember Jesus said, I'm the gate and I'm the door. He said, I am the way through. I'm the truth and I'm the life. Well, I'm going to leave you to wonder about that and let you guys get ready for your lessons. You might want to do some wondering as you do some jigsaw puzzles with Penny. And the adults are going to do some wondering with me a bit later. Oh, actually, I'll leave this up because we're going to keep wondering, aren't we?